Hey everybody, I'm Jesse. If you're new here, I play in the Richmond-based band Carbon Leaf. I'm also the founder of After the Gig, which is a podcast and a publication that highlights and navigates the lives of musicians. Today I wanted to talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention because it's considered not very cool, but we're going to talk about side hustles and the things that musicians need to do to make this thing work. You know, it's something that some musicians find shame in, but it's something that we all have to do to be able to get our start, to be able to pay the rent, to be able to network or whatever. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of that and my own journey with that. Something I also was a bit embarrassed by for a time, and I've come to be okay with it. But more importantly, I've used it as an opportunity to learn new skills and to be able to push forward, which I think many musicians need to focus on. So why do we need other jobs? Why do we need side jobs before we make it work as musicians? Well, first, you have to pay the rent. You got to have a place to live. Unless you live at home and you're young, if you don't have that luxury where someone is paying for your rent, you need to have money. It's not a complicated idea. And I told you that I'd share a little bit about me and my personal journey with side gigs and jobs that I've had that have allowed me to afford a life in music. So I'll do just that. When I was living in Boston and I was at Berklee offered some different opportunities to be able to work on campus, but I had a really horrible experience trying to get one of those jobs. The job that I tried to get was one of the people that called up alumni to ask for money. And I did one shift at that thing, and I just felt so guilty. Like, how am I going to ask these people that paid all this money? Like, I pay all this money to be at this school. So how can I ask someone to spend more money and whatever? And my perspective of it was like, at this time was like, nobody has money to do this. Nobody can do that. And of course, there are people that do it and they donate and they get their names up on buildings and all that stuff and they can afford it. That's all well and good. But I went to one training session where this other student, we had to pretend and role play like we were calling. And this student just gave me the hardest time during our fake phone call and turned me off from the whole thing. He's being such a prick about it. And it turned me off from, I didn't even want to be in the room. I didn't even want to be near any of them. So I didn't show up again after that. So I decided that I needed to get another job to be able to afford this. I started working at a bar in Brighton, which is close to where I lived. And I had friends that worked there. The band I was in, Love Stockholm, one of the guys worked there. So he got me a job. And then I ended up working there for like 7 or 8 years. And I met my wife there. So that was a really, really great thing. But I wasn't touring enough to be able to afford it. When I first got a gig with anyone, I was still bartending. And the beauty of bartending or working in a restaurant is that it's so flexible. You have to be a good worker. You have to, work weekends. But, pretty much whenever I needed to get some time off, I was able to go out on the road. And I had a boss that was really supportive of that stuff. He also let me book music at the restaurant, which was really, really cool. So that was a bit of a foray into learning actually the business side behind music. I knew what the bar sales were. I knew what bands that came in that actually brought people. I saw the effects that what paying out a band on a Wednesday night as opposed to what people spent at the bar, what was working and what was really not going to work. Anyway, the bar was fantastic. But that brings us to now. So what do I do now? I do have a side gig, even though I play in a big national touring band and I make money doing that. And I consider that my full-time job and living. When the pandemic hit, I had to get a job because, life's expensive when you have a kid and all that. And my wife works and makes a really good living. So that was great, but we needed something else. So when the pandemic hit, my brother, who I don't know if is listening to this, I know he reads the newsletter. He owns an Amazon logistics company that, you see the Amazon vans on the road that deliver the packages. He owns one of those companies. So early on, when I didn't have anything, I drove and I delivered some packages. And I didn't want to deliver in my hometown because I was really, really embarrassed to do that. And I was embarrassed to admit that. And, I didn't want to be someone that went out into a van and delivered packages to houses. But during the pandemic, that's all that was happening. So there was no one around. There was no traffic. It was actually great exercise. And I tried to look at all the positives of it while I was doing it. But then it morphed into more of a managerial role. And I didn't deliver as much because I was working on systems for his business that would make the devices run better, and someone had to manage that and manage the vehicles to make sure that they were getting fixed on time, and dealing with vendors. Like, I'm good with people. I'm a good communicator. I have good personal skills, and I thoroughly enjoy speaking with people and having interactions with people. So you have to have that, or have someone in that business that can do that. And I kind of fit the bill perfectly. So it's something I still do. And now I really enjoy. I enjoy the people that work there. It's completely separate from my music life. And it's something that I can do to help my brother out. And I know what happens all the time. And when I talk about having something that's flexible, it's really, really important. And my wife tells me all the time, it's like, if you were any other person or an employee at any other place, you would have been fired a long, long time ago, because I go away for weeks at a time. I go away for a month every fall, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. And I wouldn't be able to do that if my brother wasn't the boss and the owner of that company. So I thank him very much for that. That job has helped me out in so many other aspects of my life as a musician, managing people and knowing different personalities. Like, there's a world where you could work at an Amazon station in Rhode Island and I would be your boss. I like to think that I'm a positive influence on people's lives. I try to take that experience that I have with other people and I take it to other realms of my life. It's actually a little bit difficult to admit all that, because you want it to be special for people. You don't want people to necessarily know those things, that background, because you want them to have a special experience, and you don't want that to be in the back of their heads. But the reality of it is, all of the artists that you see in a bar or in a small venue, they all have other jobs, all of them. And if they don't, then kudos to them. That's amazing that they'd be able to not have a job and make it work, but you have to do it. The other part of what I do is, after the gig, talking to you and trying to peel back that curtain and to write newsletters and to do podcasts and stuff and add value to the fans. It's something that means a lot to me, and it's something that I thoroughly enjoy. And you want to try to do the things that fit into your lifestyle, that you enjoy, that can also help you make a living, and while adding value to people. You can't expect to just do something selfishly and not try to connect or add value to your listeners or to your audience. So you need to be able to work that into your workflow and work that into your life, because if you don't do that, then you're doing things selfishly and you're not really going to get anything back for it. So you need to take your job, whatever it is that you do, try to make it relate to whatever you're doing professionally until you can do that full time, do that professional thing full time. And that is huge when it comes to music, and everybody's doing it. There's plenty of Uber drivers out there, plenty of whatever, name that thing. There's people out there doing it that are also going to the club and trying to promote and trying to write newsletters and trying to add value to the world, and make it their full-time gig. Plenty of them out there. And there's no shame in it whatsoever. Now, when I talk about there being no shame in it, there is a time in your life where it can take an emotional toll. I'm not going to lie and say that when I was delivering packages that I didn't think about it and that it didn't take an emotional toll. It sure did. And it took some time to be able to be okay with it. What I did was I morphed what I was doing into something else that I was more comfortable with, and that ultimately I could add more value to my brother's company. That became more of a win-win for everyone involved. But the idea that you're an artist and that you shouldn't have to have this other thing, and maybe it makes it so you don't have time to do your art, or you don't have time to promote, or you don't have time to practice, or you don't have time to play gigs, it shouldn't lead you down the road to some kind of crazy financial instability. If you are so good at what you do, if you are just virtuosic, or you are always playing, there's always the phone is ringing off the hook, then this does not apply to you, because you can find a way to make it work no matter what. But most musicians aren't that way. It takes a lot of really, really painstaking work and time to be able to get gigs and keep gigs. I'm not saying that others aren't good so they don't deserve the gigs, whatever. Hopefully that all makes sense. But you need to put yourself in a position where you can have a comfortable life and have some balance and be able to do what you love the right way, the way that you want to do it, and not take just any gig that comes around. Like, I love all the gigs that I do. I really, really, truly do. Like, I play a place called The James in Needham, Massachusetts, which is an amazing restaurant, amazing people. I look forward to going there every single summer and playing on Wednesdays. I play Wednesdays there. I do it solo. I play acoustic guitar and I sing, and I love that. Which obviously is not my regular thing. I'm a drummer and I play in a rock band. That is a completely different thing, but it scratches a different itch, and I really, really love it. I also play a place called Ward 4 in Boston, which is a little bit more occasional, but they're fantastic people. They're champions of music. They love it. I love doing it. And there's another place in Rhode Island called Blue Water that has music. So just remember, if music or your art or your small business that you're trying to build, if it isn't paying all your bills at the moment, it doesn't mean that it won't at some point in the future. You just need to have the balance and need to be able to figure things out to a point where it eventually will. You can't bog yourself down by doing things that aren't going to propel you to where you want to be. So you need to make the decision, hey, does this job, does this gig, does this help me make a step forward? Does this help me get to the ultimate point that I want to be? When I was bartending, I decided that bartending wasn't going to ultimately get me to play more gigs or get me to where I want to be. I needed to make better decisions when it came to music. I needed to make better choices when it came to my time management. I needed to practice more. So I made efforts to do that. I think it was like one less shift a week because I was working Wednesday, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then I was working a double every Sunday. I was doing that schedule and I have Monday and Tuesday off. And then Sunday I would work from like 9 a.m., 9 or 10 to like 10 or 11 p.m. So it was a long day. It was a lot of time. I had probably more money than I had ever had up until that point. But it was so much time. It's draining. It's really, really draining. So I didn't have much time at the end of the day after my band had broken up to really focus on sitting down and practicing and doing the things I needed to do to be able to get a gig and propel forward. So I had to make a very conscious decision of taking less money, more practice to propel forward. So that's something that you have to think about. What kind of sacrifices are you willing to make those things work? And how much of a balance do you need to have in your life? So that's the emotional toll it has. But now, choosing the job or the side hustle that I touched on a little bit that doesn't drain you. So You need to have time at the end of the day to be able to work on your art if you want to take it seriously. If it's just a hobby, you do your job, you come home, you do it when you feel like the mood strikes, then that's fine. But if you're trying to propel forward and make this thing work full time, you need to, like I said, take a job that has transferable skills that you can use in that world. Bartending was really, really great for a time. For me right now, I do the logistics stuff part-time. It really, really works. I'm reachable. There's plenty of options out there if you're willing to do a little bit of work. Hotels, being a front desk agent at a hotel is great because, there's a couple shifts a day if you don't work the overnight shift, or if you want to do like daytime stuff, you can work the overnight shift if you have no family or something like that. I mean, people are into doing things like that. So if that works more for your schedule, there's an option out there for you. And one of the biggest factors in any of this is flexibility. It's really, really hard to work a 9-to-5 job that allows you to be a professional musician. It's not really all that probable. I mean, maybe it is out there. Maybe you can work remotely and you're working during the day before loadout and then blah, 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 you go in. I imagine a lot of like coding jobs or, some kind of computer thing. I always advocate for working on your own thing and having ownership of your own intellectual property. So maybe you can do that route someplace, maybe an online business or some kind of thing like that. That is more towards you. You don't really have a boss. You're the boss. But I don't know. It depends on your situation or what you can handle or what you are savvy on. Your skills. Your skill set matters a lot when it comes to that. So have something that is going to be flexible, that you're not going to get in trouble every single time you say, hey, I need to take a week off, I'm going on tour, or hey, I got this big opportunity, I need to take it. And then it would be terrible if you took the opportunity and then you lost your job because of it. Those opportunities are great and maybe they spark something new and then you don't need the thing anymore, but that's like once in a lifetime and it isn't the norm. That is like the fairy tale. You see it in a movie. Hey, this person got discovered and they played this gig, but to play the gig, they lost their job, but now they don't need the job anymore because someone huge saw them at this gig. So now they're famous and they don't need the job. So that is very, very rare. I won't say the name of the band because they're an extremely famous band. So I won't do it. But one of the main members of this group that I'm talking about was a brunch server at a place in Brooklyn for a long time. I'm not going to mention any names, but someone that I'm very close to, very friendly with. Whenever I would go to Brooklyn, we would go to this place and get served by this guy. And they were friends and all that. So one day, that guy ends up, after playing years with this band that no one had ever really heard of, they had some buzz in the kind of folk Americana world. And then they blew up because they were on either Conan or some late night show. And I remember talking about them about to be on this late night show while he's handing me a plate of eggs. And then he wasn't there anymore. And then they were huge and then they didn't have to do it. They just went on the road and now, and they're a huge band still playing today. That is a thing. Like, you're working towards something, but you have to have something flexible that you can manage to make it work. So just remember, everybody out there has a different job or some kind of side hustle they're doing to make it work in music, unless they're a huge touring act. But as we all know, there's tons of bands out there that aren't at the huge arena level, that are doing the small clubs and doing that circuit, and that have to take a lot of time off and they have to work in little side gigs here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to pick something that's not going to detour you, but help you in the path to making music full time. You're not any less of an artist or any less of a person just because you're stocking shelves or talking to someone from the Dodge dealership to fix another one of your vans, or if you're slinging drinks on the weekends. It doesn't matter. Whatever you got to do to make it happen, do it. If this episode hit home or if you relate to it in any way, send me an email afterthegigpod@gmail.com. Subscribe to the newsletter on Substack. I'll leave the link down below. Hopefully I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye. I can't do that anymore. Just made myself very dizzy.